everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Dance Talk Realness, a podcast where we discuss all nuances concerning education and dance, because the dance experience is an experience worth talking about. I'm your host, Truly B, and I'm joined by my awesome co-host, Daryl P. Hey. And today, we will be discussing the Hot Chocolate Nutcracker. I am so excited to talk about this. Okay. Before we jump in, today's quote is from Oprah Winfrey, and she says, "The more you celebrate your life, the more there is in life to celebrate."
Perfect.
When I tell you, almost cried multiple times because I'm just like, this is life. It's like, come through, sis, come through. Oh my gosh. I loved every single aspect of it. And I am even more so now desirous to see the full production.
Yeah.
The first thing I took note of is something that Debbie Allen said. And I was like, I like it. Dancers are the most intelligent people on the planet. I said, you better tell them kids again. Tell them kids again. Tell them again. Let them know where we are with this. I gave me life the whole time. First of all, I was like, yo, I teach like that. Oh my God. There are many students out there who would be like, oh my God, that was Miss Bennett. Sorry, not sorry. Because then I think being able to be removed from the situation, look at where she was able to take them to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there is a difference between being hateful and just being a hard ass. Like, those are different. And way too often people get those things confused.
Right.
I 100% am a hard ass, especially when it came to like company, because I'm like, oh, no.
You're signing up for this.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, this is what you wanted. So we're here now. So do what you said you were going to do. So I absolutely love that. Yeah. Oh my God. I have like all the notes because I was very much I miss being in the studio. I miss teaching dancers. I miss it a lot. Not enough to go back to the school system. God, no.
Yeah.
Not enough. Not enough for that. But just seeing, even just looking at the other instructors and just how much care, investment, determination, and passion for dance was there in those instructing and it being imparted to the students and seeing that returned. I was like, yo, I'm about to sit here and cry through this whole thing. And like, it's not that emotional of a documentary, but about to start crying because I'm like, yo, I miss this. Teaching this away via a screen, I hate it. But, it is what it is right now. I miss being in studio. But that aside, because we ain't gonna sit here and cry during this conversation because I know I got time for that.
I definitely hear you when just listen, like when once you all watch it, there's just something that is I mean, it's reminiscent of like me being in college and like having like all of my professors who really, like care about you and really want to see you do well. But like, just interesting to know that, they all have stories. They all
Mm,
have like a path that they've been on and have done different things. And especially when you're at that age where like you literally are doing it. You're doing it because you're enjoying it. You're learning a lot. But like when you don't know exactly what the future holds, but like as dance teachers, when like I'm sure there's some of the dancers that you saw them, you heard them talk about that you're just like, oh, you're gonna do such great things, and you're so excited for them, even though that they don't quite know exactly like what destiny has in store for them.
yeah.
Um, but it's nice to hear them, to hear them talk about them because it's really
Yes.
reminiscent of like what I remember getting, and then also what I recall giving out to some of my students too.
Yes. In particular, the one darling who was like, "Yo, so like, what am I gonna do now?" And I mean, I've seen kids go through that where it's like, I don't know what to do. And then she ended
Mm-hmm.
up teaching, which awesome. She was able to still stay in the field, but there's so many times where I'm just like, use this. Like, okay, plan A didn't pan out for you. Fine. You can still use this. You can still do something with this. And her talk with them, first of all, it wasn't a talk. She reamed them jokers out. I
Mm-hmm.
was dying. I was like, yo, that sounds like me. I love it. But talking to them about work ethic and like when you show up to a rehearsal, number one, you don't show up late. That's what you don't do.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you're showing up, that's how you show up for life. And
How you
I
should,
was
right? Yeah.
like, yes to that. And I mean, I admittedly first learned that lesson through band. And it just carried over
Mm-hmm.
into dance for me because I always
Yeah.
like my one of my band directors will always say to be early is to be on time is to be late, and to be late is completely unacceptable. My students
Mm-hmm.
hated me for that because I'd be like, well, what time did class start? They're like, but I got here, I'm on time. I was like, so you're late. Like,
Yeah.
you should have been here already, warming up, you know, reviewing anything you needed to review, making
Mm-hmm.
sure your body was ready. So when it's go time, we go.
Yeah.
And even though, like sometimes kids don't make that connection, but I'm like, yo, like the example she gave, when you get a job, like if you are a part of like this commitment and you're always late, not really prepared when you get there, what makes you think that all of a sudden you're going to change that when you
Right.
go into another place? Like,
Right.
yeah, you may be able to swing it for a little bit, but if you have trained yourself to believe that, okay, it's okay if I'm 5 minutes late, that doesn't bother anybody.
Yeah.
Or it's okay if I don't have everything prepared, I'll just get it together while I'm there. That's going to carry over into everything you do later in life, like
Yes.
every aspect of it. And so I loved her reaming them out, first of all, because it was funny, but also because that is so true. And I'm like, yeah, it applies to, in my opinion, across the board to the arts. That is something we bring to the table, that we are
Mm-hmm.
teaching these types of life skills in such a way that it's not as easily rejected by the kids. Like, we're
Right.
not sitting there lecturing them about it per se,
They're
but
experiencing. They're experiencing
exactly.
firsthand the repercussions of when you're unprepared. When you're
Mm-hmm.
unprepared and you're in a dance class, you know that you can't perform full out because you haven't warmed up in time for that. Um,
Or you'll get injured.
or you'll get injured. Right. Same thing if like, I think they've realized that like, we've had some guest artists who have shown up late, and it's like, well, when they show up late, now they have less time with you.
Mm-hmm.
When you show up late, you don't know what happened before you got there. So then you're in charge of catching up with that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they see it firsthand as opposed to it just being told. Like,
Yes.
Like it goes in one ear and out the other. But when you're experiencing it, it's like, oh no, this is serious.
It was like, there really are consequences to my actions. It's
Right.
like,
Exactly.
yes.
Exactly.
Yes, honey. They really are.
They
Like,
really are.
learn
Yeah.
that lesson. So I
Yes.
was in love with that. That was by far my favorite part because I was like, I've had that talk with kids before.
Yeah.
And the ones who you can see that they get it, they grasp that concept, and they start to try to apply it, you see them improve across the board usually.
Right.
And vice versa. The ones who, maybe they were showing up to your class and your rehearsal, but they were like pissing about for everything else, that starts to leak in to their dance life.
Right.
And so I'm like, yeah, you can compartmentalize, but everything is connected.
Right. And it's like she was talking about how that you are role models, you are role models everywhere you go. And it's like, that is so what I tell. And I had a coworker who would always say, like, I may not, who knows, like, I may not train you to be, this best dancer. She's like, honestly, like, sometimes I don't care if people compliment you guys on how great you dance. She's like, but I do want people to say that you're good people and that you're great people. And that's what I want you to leave this program with as well. And it's like, totally, like, if you know what I mean, not everybody that comes through our dance rooms are going, like, even what they said in the documentary, maybe more so on the fact that maybe people don't always have the drive or the talent to be professional. But she says, the good thing is that I've known great surgeons, I've known great people that do other profession, and that's great. It's awesome that they have this dance experience under their belt, because we are teaching those soft skills that are universal.
Yeah, and they're necessary. Like they help to make you more well-rounded.
Yes.
And they're some of the things that, like, when you're interviewing, that people are looking for. And it's like, we inherently teach those things and learn those things through dance.
Yes.
I definitely know. I know quite a few people who I met them through dance, but they don't perform. They don't teach it. They have nothing to do with this field now. Like, they're off doing other things, but they can tell you the impact that it had on their life and the impact that it still play, even though that it is still playing. Let me get my grammar together. Even though they're in a completely different, seemingly unrelated profession. That used to be one of my journal assignments. I would ask the kids, I'm like, okay, well, what is it that you want to do, and how can dance help you with that? And I'll never forget, there was this one, bless her, she very much was like, I think she wanted to go into nursing, and she said dance could help her with nursing in that she could dance and entertain the patients in between things. And I was like, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Like, let's discuss this. I'm like, explain to me. I was like, okay, and literally had that type of conversation with her. I was like, okay, let's go through some of the things that we learn. If nothing else, learning how to troubleshoot. We got to do that all the time. Like, learning how to think outside the box, learning how to multitask. Even though people say, like, you can't really multitask, you can. It happens. Like, it's a thing.
Right.
My puppy is so disrespectful, y'all. I hate it. Can't stand him. He don't be doing this when anyone else is doing things. Just me.
Just you.
But also being able to stick to something.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Again, learned it in music, honed it in dance. It was like, yo, I can't be up in here and I can't do this double, this triple. Like, I cannot live like that. Like, I need to fix it. And it's like, okay, I am frustrated. I'm tired. Let's take a step back. But we coming back to it. Right. Like, I'm not dropping this. And it is so easy for students I've had, so I'm going to say it that way because I can't speak for everyone, but students who I've had in the arts, so easy for them to just drop it with other subjects.
Mm-hmm.
I won't let them. And
Right.
I'm sure the other teachers were like, yeah, but you do need to fix this. But there was something about pushing them that I'm like, all right, yes, you improved. Good job. Now we need to look at this. And while we're looking at that, circle back because you did miss something before. Let's get that together because you need that in order for this next step to work. And just them having to work through it and really be determined and really put that effort in, and then seeing the outcome, seeing it click for them that's why I teach. That aha moment when they're just like, yo, I get it. I got it. Like, I can do this part. Like, hey, yo, Miss Bennett. I'm like, yes, you got it. All right. So now we do this.
Yeah.
Keep that and move it here.
Right.
And then being able to show them that, okay, so now you do that in English.
Mm-hmm.
Now you do that in math. Now you do that in science.
Yeah.
Now you do that in history. You take something, you get it, and then you build on that. And we have a way of teaching that skill.
Right.
That I just don't think anyone else can. At me if you must. I don't care. Like, don't nobody teach it like artists.
Right.
Nobody teaches you like us.
Yeah. I think it's the practice, right? It's the practice that you want, that, when you think about homework, right? And you think about homework in math is, do these sets of problems, and you're just wondering, well, why am I doing all these problems? Why am I doing all this stuff? Like, what is this for? And then you do it in class again, and you're like, well, what do we keep doing it for? Right? That is that one more time. Yes. Do it again. Mm-hmm. Do it again in dance class. It's those are the homework. Those are the 10 problems that you're doing. So that way, you do it until you get it, right? Like, you don't do it. I always tell them, like, you do it, and then when you don't get it, you do it again. Mm-hmm. And then when you're like, oh, I kind of get it, then you do it again. Until you're like, I almost got it, then you say, do it again. Until you get it.
And then do it again.
And then do it again.
Because you got to be sure, and you need to maintain it.
Right.
I think for us, that's a lie. Wait, I was about to say the immediate outcome, but that's not true because it is not an immediate outcome. That's not how I want to word that. But I can see, this is rude, but I can see the benefit in me working out my technique because I know what I'm using that for. See, me and math ain't never been friends. Because, I would legit be sitting in a class like, what am I going to use this for?
Right.
I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be using this. And I'm going to be real. There have been things, and I'm just like, y'all, I ain't used that still to this day.
Right.
Bitter that y'all made me take that class. Like, all this, like, obviously, yes, math is important. Not saying it's not. Mm-hmm. I am the child of a math educator. Mm-hmm. That might have also been part of my issue, is that I was like, she already taught me that. Like, she taught me all the things I need to know to survive in this world. Why do I need to know the rest of it? And so I would try not to say that in front of students. Sometimes I would, though, not gonna lie. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was that break of, but what am I using this for? And for some people, they can see what they're going to use it for, and it works out for them. People like me, though, it'd be like, I still don't. Still don't really know. But English, though, I was like, oh, but I need to master that. Number one, it's my first language. Right. I thought I was going to be an English teacher. Then realized I didn't want to grade people's papers. I'm like, I like to read. I don't like reading other people's stuff like that, though. Yeah. So I was like, we shouldn't do this. That's okay. But I understood the value in being very literate, being able to comprehend what is happening in writing, being able to break things down. for dancers, some of them that I've like, okay, well, what other things could I give you besides like just living here? You need to, well, you don't need to. Some people be making it by functionally illiterate, but it's very, very much more likely to help you to be literate. But I'm like, when you get that contract, you might need to be able to comprehend that thing. Like,
right.
Can we talk about that? I'm like, child, don't be signing some stuff that you didn't understand. I was like, and that's one of the skills that you learn through the English class is, okay, well, this is what this is saying. Okay, let's break this thing down and like, let's really comprehend it. I'm like, yeah, no, but you need that skill. Yeah. You need that.
Yeah.
History, you don't want it to repeat itself.
Yeah.
It keep doing it, but trying to get out the cycle.
Right.
History was also difficult for me. I understood that concept, but also I was like, y'all, there's a lot of dates and names, and I'm still horrible at that. But I could see it.
Yeah.
It really was math. It was math.
Math. That was the culprit.
It was just ruining lives. But all that to say, we are teaching so much more. Yeah. And it was so awesome to be able to have a seat and watch someone doing that thing that is like, I do that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, like, you know, like, yeah, I'm obviously not operating like on the scale that Debbie Allen is operating on.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you also, like, we have impacted people's lives.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is amazing to like, just like watch.
Yeah.
Like, wow, like we're fucking amazing. Like,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
I love it. Yeah. There was also another thing that I wanted to talk about. Because again, this is so me. She basically said, fuck around and find out when they were talking in class. Child, I about died. I was like, oh,
she said, if you talk again, I will fire you.
I will fire you. I was like,
right. And if you think, it was almost like, if you think I'm playing.
She said, fuck around and find out. You will not be here. Like, do you have an important role? Don't care.
Yeah, there's another study. There's
somebody else to do it.
Somebody wants to do it.
Yo, I was done. I could do nothing but laugh. My kids were looking at me like, that's mean. I'm like, that's real though.
Yeah.
Like, why are you talking while I'm talking? I'm clearly giving instruction. It's something that you all need to know. I need you to be focused. I need you to be professional. And really pushing that idea of professionalism from what the youngest were like 4 and like having that standard all the way through, regardless of age. And I was like, yes, like that is important. And again, another thing that translates over no matter what you're doing.
Right. Yes.
Man, I was weak though. I died. Yeah. It was the absolute, like,
she said, not today.
At all. Like, she was not, child, when she said she would fire them, I was like, oh, the babies. The babies.
I know. I was wondering, I was like, who's keeping the babies quiet? Because I'm sure they're probably just like, but they probably were like,
them babies probably were scared. I would be too.
Yeah.
Would be scared to breathe. I was like, yo, it was so,
it
was so funny to me, but so real.
Yeah. And I think it was great to show, like, speaking of just being so real, like, it was great to show, I think, the audition process that people there's some people who have been doing it for years, and that the ones that, you know, sometimes would get cut and, you know, told that they need to take more class. And I think that is good. It's just good to watch, because I feel like sometimes you don't see a lot of like what do I call it? Just the fact that you're not always successful. Sometimes you do get a call to say, I mean, she talked about even her own stories about, you know, like sometimes you fail, or sometimes just doors aren't open, but, you know, you can't just and I think she even learned that too, you know, you just can't let a door closing be the reason why, like, you close things up for, like, the entire possibilities of like
Yeah.
things that you want to do or your dream.
Yeah. And I want to say, I forgot who it was who said it. I was trying to write, but I didn't want to look away. But success is one step beyond failure.
That I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Anytime you succeed at something, there was a possibility that on the other side of that was failure.
Yes. And sometimes you've possibly failed multiple times.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you can either stop because you're like, okay, well, that didn't work out. Or you can be like, okay, well, that didn't work out. What do I need to do different?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And like with the auditions, they laid out like, okay, because that's technically a failure for those who didn't make the audition.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, okay, you need to take more classes. You need to work on this, pay attention to this. Come back next year.
Yeah.
And who knows, that might be the year that they're successful.
Right.
But that fear of failure will take you out.
I think it takes a lot of this generation out too.
Ooh, it is demolishing some of them.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm like, failure sucks. No, I don't know many people who like failing. I can't personally think of one.
Yeah.
It's not enjoyable. Like, people don't like being told no. People don't like being rejected. People don't like feeling as though I'm not good enough. And one of the men said that he was like, like it happens to us too.
Yeah.
That we're just like, oh my God, I'm not good enough. Like, this means I'm horrible. Like, I can't dance. I can't teach. Like, nothing works. And it's like, okay, have that moment, feel your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to keep moving. Like, you have to pull yourself back out of that and keep pushing, because the next time could be the one. But if you quit, it'll never be.
It'll never be. Correct.
So, yeah, man, it was just so many good gems in this thing.
It was.
There was another thing that I really liked. And then, because I know you have things. And one of the things that I think has always been one of my biggest takeaways, child.
Mm-hmm.
The arts can take you anywhere you want to go. And I'm like, that's all I've ever said. Like, for us to be so expendable, for people to always be so willing to cut our programs, to pull their kids from a class or out of program because they need to focus on their academics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but we are the academics. Like, we are all of the things.
Yeah.
Like, I had a talk with a friend on Facebook that band is what kept a lot of us in school.
Yeah.
I know the same went for dance.
Mm-hmm.
The same went for visual art. The same went for drama.
Mm-hmm.
The same went for chorus. The same went for orchestra. Sometimes this is the thing that saves you.
Mm-hmm.
And for people to be so willing to cut it, but then will turn right around and consume some art, participate in it. And it's like, but if you keep taking away our opportunities to really keep growing these fields, at some point you won't have anything to turn to.
Right, exactly.
And like, you can say like social versions of all of these things would still exist. And I'm like, yeah, I believe so. Like, I think social dance would still be a thing. I think people just singing randomly in their house would still be a thing. People randomly sketching things. But we can do so much more, and we can reach so many more people when you allow us to thrive and grow and have these programs. Like the one little girl who she said, like my life goal, that if she were to open a studio, it would be pay as you can, pay what you can, because there's so many great dancers out there. And the only reason they're not there, they can't afford it.
They can't afford it, yeah.
And that's why I went into teaching in the schools, because I'm like, there's a kid out there who I will be able to teach that they can't afford to go to a studio.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give them that type of quality training for free.
Right.
And I'm like,
yeah.
Like, man, we're just amazing people.
Yeah, we are. Yeah,
we
is
are.
Good.
Like we just are.
Yeah.
Hey, but that was a great one.
It was.
I loved it. I might end up watching it like one more time.
I know.
Where I'm not taking notes to discuss. But it just, I needed it. It was a good step away from like other things I have going on, and to really just be immersed back into dance, into the world where I'm like, I get that. It's like, yes, like this is life. This is it.
Yes.
You have any final thoughts on?
No, I recommend it to everybody to just watch and enjoy. It's very eye-opening, just about like just Debbie Allen's history, which I found really interesting too, and then also just the many things that she's doing for the young people that she's teaching, and like how it really reflects in on what we all do is really good.
Yes, for sure. And to clarify, you don't have to have a dance background to enjoy this thing. Like there are so many awesome takeaways regardless, just as dancers and dance educators, we have a different connection to it. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. Everyone should watch it. It was amazing.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all again for joining us this week at Dance Talk Realness. If you have any questions for us or any suggestions, please be sure to drop us a line. Let us know, because, hey, we may feature your question.
Yeah.
So stay safe out there. Enjoy this season. And next week, we'll be discussing yet another, I'm calling it a holiday classic now. It just came out this year. I don't care. I can already see going to be watching this every year. I love it. But we'll tell y'all more about it in the next episode. Look forward to bringing you some fresh new content next week. We'll see you then.
Bye.